Sylvester Magee, born in North Carolina. Once again, North Carolina can claim honors. It is here that in May 1841, Sylvester was born enslaved to parents Ephraim and Jeanette in either Granville County or Carpet, North Carolina, on the J. Shank plantation. He died in 1971 at the remarkable age of 130 years old. He is remembered as the last surviving enslaved American and the oldest American in recorded history. This is his story. On the J. Shank plantation, young Sylvester, age 19, yearned to be free. He planned his escape from the cruel institution of slavery, but Sylvester was captured. He was chained and sold down the river to Mississippi and auctioned in enterprise. He was purchased by Hugh Magee, a plantation owner in Covington County, Mississippi. Soon after that, he was sold to Victor Steen of Rankin County, Mississippi. When the Civil War began, Magee stated that he had been forced to serve in the Confederate Army as a servant and laborer doing road construction and building fortifications. I was 22 years old, and all I'd ever known was plowing, scraping, and picking cotton, sawing logs, and doing other things on the farm. But 382 colored and 500 whites were given long barrel rifles, many of them in the same boat as me. One poor white boy cried most of the time. I tried to comfort him, telling him he hadn't done nothing to nobody, and the good Lord just wouldn't let nothing happen to him. But he cried right on. In 1863, Magee ran away from the Confederate Army and enlisted in the Union Army, taking part in the assault on Vicksburg, Mississippi. Historians have noted that Magee's recounted events during the Civil War are given with rare intelligence and vivid detail. He spoke with clarity that few could match. After interviewing him in 1964, Alfred P. Andrews, an amateur historian and founder of the Jackson, Mississippi Civil War Roundtable, helped draw public attention to Magee's story. He was convinced of its veracity. He stated that Magee talked with rare intelligence and seldom rambled in recounting his participation in the Civil War. Magee claimed to have been wounded at both Vicksburg and Champion Hill. Andrews helped Magee claim Civil War veteran status, although no service records for him could be found. He received medical services from the Mississippi Veterans Hospital. Here is another claim chalked to Magee, serving on both sides of the Civil War for the Confederacy and the Union. At the end of the war, Magee returned to Marion County, Mississippi as a freedman and farmed near Columbia, Mississippi with a white farmer, Tom Mix. He later moved to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, doing odd jobs until the early 1900s, then returned to Columbia to work for a sawmill operator, Richard Davis. Magee supervised the mill in Davis's absence, earning a wage of $10 a week. Magee told the Philadelphia Daily News that he had had 4 wives, 3 of whom he outlived, and fathered 7 children, the last at the age of 109. In 1966, he divorced his last wife, Marie. She had left him 12 years before and went home to New York, so he filed for divorce. Magee claimed that he never drank alcohol or swore, though he smoked cigarettes for 108 years. In his later years, he made a living selling automated needle threaders and digging graves. You could also find him at the creek, trout fishing, a pastime he cherished. The big celebration. Happy birthday. On Magee's 124th birthday, the citizens of Collins, Mississippi, held a party at a country grocery store, complete with a 5-layer cake and 124 candles. Governor Paul B. Johnson Jr. declared it Sylvester Magee Day. Many national news articles reported on Magee's life and longevity, including Time and Jet. He appeared on The Mike Douglas Show and was flown to Philadelphia for another televised appearance. He was proclaimed as the oldest living United States citizen by an insurance company and received a birthday card from President Lyndon B. Johnson. He was also recognized by President Richard M. Nixon. After Magee's 125th birthday celebration in 1966, he gained some worldwide notoriety and became a sort of minor celebrity. He never left his native Mississippi, except for 5 years after the Civil War when he journeyed to Chicago, but according to his recollection, he returned home because it was too cold. Evidence of attention shown Magee finds him visiting a New York museum, taking in a wax exhibit of Abraham Lincoln. Jet magazine shows him after a dental visit in New Orleans. As mentioned, he was flown to Philadelphia to appear on the Mike Douglas Show. Let's hear from Mr. Magee. On July 31st, 1969, the Mississippi Department of Archives and History conducted a long interview to determine Magee's status as an American Civil War veteran and to try to determine if, in fact, he was America's longest living survivor of slavery. Magee was 128 years old. How old are you? 129. What year were you born? 18 in 41. 1841? Yes, sir. We hear your parents lived a long time too. Yeah, my mama did. She lived over 110 years. How long did your daddy live till? He only lived till 108 years. Magee was asked about surviving slavery. Well, the Lord, I reckon he just works. I've been through some hardships. You have? Do you remember much of that stuff? In the slave times, I was beaten up by my master. By your master? Yeah, Massa Hugh Magee. Where did you live back then, slave times? Back up on Dry Creek. Back over there? You lived around there all your life? Up there? Well, yes, sir. Well, I left, and then I went to the war. I stayed over at Vicksburg. Let's see. What else did you do during the war, Sylvester? What rank were you? Did you get a uniform? Did you have a uniform? Oh, some kind of old blue something. They gave you an old uniform? Were you a private? Yes. What battles did you fight in? You fought at Vicksburg. Got wounded at Vicksburg? Fought in the Civil War. Civil? Yeah, civil. Sylvester Magee talks more about his service and about fighting Confederate soldiers in combat. He tells the interviewers about his move up north for a brief time after the Civil War. He talks about his nephews, his grandson, and his 2 marriages. In the end, the information that Sylvester Magee provided to the Mississippi Department of History and Archives was enough to convince them that Sylvester Magee was indeed the last surviving Civil War veteran in the United States and the last living emancipated American slave in history. During his interview, a mere 11 days after the Apollo moon landing, one of the interviewers asked Magee, "Did you hear about the moon walk, about the men walking on the moon?" Yes, ma'am, I heard them talking about it. Do you believe it? Do you believe that the United States has men up on the moon? Magee paused for a moment and thought before he replied. Well, I believe it. I believe what they are saying. They were bound to have went up there sometime. Well, a lot of people don't believe it. Well, I believe it. They wouldn't have went up there to the moon if it wasn't important. People don't believe nothing today. They should be believing like the Lord having them to do. Sylvester Magee died on October 15, 1971, in Columbia, Mississippi, at the Veterans Hospital. His funeral was held at John the Baptist Missionary Church in Foxworth, Mississippi, the same church he attended his entire life, even when enslaved. He was buried at Pleasant Valley Church Cemetery in an unmarked grave. In 2011, on the 30th anniversary of his death, the Marion County Historical Society of Mississippi honored his life with an historical marker that detailed Magee's extraordinary life. The November 4th, 1971 Jet magazine ran an obituary honoring Sylvester Magee entitled America's Oldest Citizen Dies in Mississippi at 130. In this obituary, Magee is quoted as saying on his 125th birthday, when asked by reporters about the secret to his longevity, he replied, "Is cause of the good Lord above. He's smiling down on me."